Hello, my name's Craig Hamilton Parker, and I'm a medium, a person that communicates with the dead, gives proof of life after death. And my wife Jane is also a medium, and we've worked together over the years, often as a couple, working on television, working in spiritualism and working in theatres and so forth. And during our time as mediums, we've come across some fascinating things, not just proofs of life after death, but sometimes unusual things. Things where people feel threatened or are under threat from something spiritual. So I brought some of these ideas together in a new book. Here comes the plug. Psychic Protection. And basically I wrote the book so that I could help people to understand some of the things that happen that might worry them about the spiritual world and mediumship. Now in particular, I've written a sort of a theory in here, which I'm calling the Spiritual Mycelium. Now a mycelium is like a network of roots that runs underneath the a group of toadstools or mushrooms. And it's a bit like the way the world works. There's this connection, this mycelium, just like on the internet. Spiritual things, I believe, and a lot of teachings believe, that connects all conscious things together. So, as I have a thought, it will affect people's thoughts elsewhere. If they have thoughts, they will affect me. Even all living things give out this energy of thought of some sort. So even plants are giving out a radiance that we are being subconsciously influenced by. In the modern world, we become less aware of it because we're surrounded by so much other clatter, the noise of traffic, the general hubbub of normal lifestyles separates us from all those subtle energies. So I teach a lot about that first and foremost in the book, that thoughts are things and we are influenced by those thoughts and can influence others with those thoughts. And this is where the whole concept of magic comes in, for example, or one of the main concepts of magic, that you can influence the world, influence events, influence people by thoughts. And those thoughts are often magnified by rituals and this type of thing. So I'm trying to teach you in this book how some of the old traditions, some of the old things that we class as superstition, are superstition on one level, there's psychology on another level, but on another level still, there's an energy behind it of saying that thought and consciousness are real things, not confined to inside our brains, but are spread out all over us, like this idea of this mycelium, this net that I've talked about. So with that in mind, I've written the book Psychic Protection in order to help protect you from some of those negative energies that are out there, and also to help you to understand the spiritual basis of these things without getting carried away by nonsense and fairy tales, because all skeptics will say this is all a load of nonsense anyway, but the fact is, thoughts are things. As a medium, I prove that thoughts can extend to the spirit world and connect us with those in the other world, and that in the next world we live in an astral world of thought and feelings and spirit. But here on Earth, we live in a physical form, but we are nonetheless being influenced by this background energy of thought. So, how do we protect ourselves against negativity? Because if people project bad thoughts to you, bang, you're going to feel that energy and it's going to have an effect on you. You might start getting depressed for reasons that you have no understanding of, and yet maybe people are thinking bad things against you. Now that doesn't mean that you're necessarily going to be trapped by those things, because people get frightened by ideas of curses and jinxes because of this, because that's how that works in many ways. But it's also triggered by a lot of human psychology too, which we also have to look at carefully to see, where the psychology begins and where the real spiritual stuff begins, and separate those things. So I'm trying to bring into this a lot of sense, get rid of some of those myths, get rid of some of those misconceptions about this huge subject. So just giving you some idea of the sort of ideas that I'll be discussing in here. I talk a lot about thought forms and what I call mind fields. Mental, a joke really, but mental ideas, like some things, mental energy is so bad it's almost explosive. So I talk about, I mentioned already, sympathetic magic, which is a form of mimicry magic type of thing to make things happen. Curses and jinxes, the prophets, thoughts about the history of these things, demons, and how demons might be thought forms, and again trying to get behind some of the myths and misconceptions of this and say, now, are there really demonic forces? I mean, if I can prove there's life after death, can I also prove that there's a demonic field, or could I also prove that there's an angelic realm? You know, those are the things I look at and try to, again, bring some reality to it. You know, I'm not saying they're not true, but at the same time, you've got to look at it in a careful way. I've done some other, as well as writing this, I've done some other videos about this you can look up on the net if you want to find out more on that. And also protective ways of dealing with that, and how to extend your consciousness and use your mind in a way to protect yourself and build a shield against negativity. And these negative energy ideas I take forward in things like battlefields and places where lots of death has occurred, and how energy can be a residual energy within environments and how we deal with that. And things like standing stones and crop circles and things like that. Does the earth have an energy itself? Which I believe it does. And can we influence that earth's energy? And yes, I believe we can do that. And I look at some of the techniques through various traditions and how they've used the earth energy, and energy that's in good places, such as divine energy that you might get in a temple or a church. You know, there's all types of energies, including bad energies. And I talk a bit in here about some of the techniques, the ideas of geopathic stress, which is like the earth has an energy that is radiating through the earth's mantle all the time, is being altered by underground streams and teutonic plates, and this type of things, and how the energy is being changed and how we can work with that and find the best places for our energy. And something even a bit about feng shui too. I've got some Chinese technique that will position things in the right way so the energy flows through your building in the right way, so you can create good harmonious environments around yourself. I look at people that are possessed, and I talk in a section about eclipsed souls, about psychic attacks as they call it, and how to distinguish between what we might consider a real sign of psychic attack, whether it be from another person, whether it be from the spirit, debatable, or whether it be a psychological condition. So I look at all those with looking at it from the standpoint of a medium, but also with a slightly skeptical mind at the same time with some of these things, because we've got to again find out what is the reality behind these things and separate that from fantasy or your own fears if you're having problems. And I talk about the shadow, I talk about black magic, I talk about thought forms, earthbound spirits. There's a lot here, so I can't describe them all, and how people can use protective rituals and techniques against those things or for those things. So it's again a whole range of psychic protection techniques in this book that I think you will find interesting, and some of it a bit frightening, but I try to bring a element of sense and understanding to it. Basically, with the main idea behind it, you know, is that ultimately light can penetrate darkness, but darkness cannot penetrate light. So as long as you stay in the light, as long as your motives are right, as long as your spirit is alight, then you're not going to get in a lot of trouble. There's nothing much to worry about. So really, it's simple. You don't need to buy the book. It's a simple technique. But I think you will find some of the techniques behind this, some of the ideas behind it will be quite mind-opening. And I've also got a whole big section in here about using these techniques, using psychic protection in your daily life. So in things like relationships, in things like getting jobs, in things where there's any stressful situations and talking publicly, all these type of things, there's energies involved, energies of other people. And sometimes you're quite vulnerable to those things. So you could go into say a job interview, for example, and completely seize up because the energy being projected to you is stopping you from shining. So I give some techniques of how you can use a form of psychic protection to enhance your abilities in general life. And also, like in arguments between people, sometimes real energy's flying around the place. I'm sure I've seen it happen. Objects will move by themselves if people have an argument sometimes. Again, this is all about energy, all about the energies we project into the world. I also, in other sections before this, I've talked about how, you know, mental energy can affect the Ouija board, how mental energy can affect table tilting, all those things we encounter in spiritualism. And in the last section of the book, I look into that in a lot more detail, particularly the mediumship side of things and how mental forms can be created. I look at the idea of the tulpas, the Tibetan ideas where you create a spirit through thought and that becomes an actual entity in its own right. Some really strange stuff in here sometimes, as well as the sensible bits, but I'm trying to show you how it all connects together with this same concept that everything is interconnected, that all consciousness extends from living beings and can influence other living beings and can be sustained even without a physical body. And when you start looking at all those things, it becomes a fascinating field. And I was inspired writing this book. I wrote it some while ago, so I've got more ideas that I could include. But so that'll be the next one. But I think you'll find it very inspiring. And if you've ever felt that you're under some form of psychic attack, there's lots of things in here taken from all traditions. I've even got voodoo and hoodoo in there. I've got Indian techniques. I've got magic techniques. I've got the traditional spiritualist ideas and very simple techniques that will help you feel more secure in this world and more able to deal with any negative energy that's being brought towards you and protect your positive energy and project your positive energy. So there you go. I'm going to give another plug. Psychic Protection is the book. And if you want to ask any questions about this, you can, first of all, you can buy the book on my website. You can buy it on Amazon as well. Either way, if you come to the website itself, I've also got there lots of forums where you can ask questions of me, and I've got a lot of spiritualists working with me there who give their time for free and will answer some of your questions about your issues. And we've got live chat rooms there too, if you like. So either go to Amazon or go to my website, get the book, and come and ask some questions when you're ready.